Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Fed Up with me, Fed Up Gaz. Joining me today is my guest Polly McSculwood from the Deutsch power metal band SCULFORGE. And if you've got an interest in sci-fi, you definitely want to check this show out. So how's it going today, man? And thank you for joining us live from the Imperium.
Hey, Gaz, how are you doing, man? Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me. I'm great. I actually just we just put my daughter to bed, and I'm free for tonight.
Yeah. Oh, so we can get into it, man. Then, yeah. I can probably talk for the entire 40k universe, so just advance warning.
But, let's see.
Yeah.
Nerd show this is going to be.
Yeah. I've got a feeling it might go off topic. So
yeah, probably.
Yeah, I think a good place to start would be just about, I guess the inspirations, which is obviously sci-fi. So has that always been a lifelong passion? And have you always incorporated it within your music?
Well, lifelong passion, I don't know.
Right.
I grew up in the late 80s, early 90s. And as a kid, you were surrounded by He-Man and Transformers in Germany. So because we were always a couple of years late to the party, actually. So that's why. And I started playing pen and paper when I was, I don't know, I think 13 or so. I did not always incorporate it in my music. Because for some music it fits, for some music it doesn't.
Yeah.
I've played in tons of bands. I've played in a cover band as well, and I had a punk rock band, so totally different kinds of things. But I like it. I like to have variation. I like to explore different paths, and
it keeps it interesting when you can draw from those different paths. I've got a great love for hardcore and punk rock as well, so it's awesome hearing that. Speaking of which, the cover as well for the album Intergalactic Battle Tunes, awesome title, definitely get it, folks. But I love in the background because you've got what looks like a huge cruiser, and that's firing on something, and then there's a guy, on the planet beneath it, and he's got his gun and everything, and it's kind of got as well that bit of a post-apoc, Fallout, Mad Max theme.
Yes.
with sci-fi all together, and it's, for a nerd like me, when I saw that had me foaming at the mouth straight away, and I thought, my God, I've got to hear these guys. So I just wondered who come up with the idea for the cover.
Would have been me.
Hey.
It was really a little bit. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Gaunt's Ghosts.
Yes, yeah.
And this is a little bit how they lose Tanith.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like that. The dropships appearing in the sky, and everything's going to shit. And that guy stands there helpless and does not know what to do. And this is, I think it's also a little bit because I wrote a lot of the stuff in the pandemic, and I think it's also unconsciously a little bit how do you say that? It has been oh Jesus, I'm missing a word. Influenced by the pandemic, probably. The helplessness, and it was pretty much a different situation.
Yeah, it's that feeling of desperation. All hope is lost. There's been many bands have wrote an album based on their experiences in the pandemic. I was chatting to another German band, an old school death band, Death Aid from Friesberg, and they were telling me that the cover for their album Hellgate, it was all about, are we going to be kind of trapped in this post-apocalyptic kind of virus world forever? Is this a possible reality? And then there's been some indie films as well dealing with the psychological impact on a person being isolated. I guess I hate to say this, but I suppose that's one of the few positives, in a sense, that has come from that nightmare. That it's certainly been a stimulus for material for music and film across the whole. Not that we want to go through that again, just to say, oh, hey, I can write the next album now, just because we're in another pandemic. I mean, no. But it's a powerful cover. I really liked it. It's definitely, as you say, Gaunt's Ghost. It definitely resonates there. I mean, even now I'm nerding. I'm thinking, like, you know, Commissar Yarrick was on that campaign on one of the worlds. It escapes me now alive. But yeah, it's a very captivating cover. So, you know, the songs, they've got a high energy, up tempo feel as well, very fun and energetic. But also, you know, paying homage as well to 40K and sci-fi as a whole. So I just wondered, did you come up for the ideas for all of those songs, or did you go back and forth with the other guys and then kind of reach an agreement on, yeah, this one will work, or we'll maybe leave this one
out? Text-wise, lyric-wise, story-wise, totally my baby. And music-wise, I think we mostly split it between my cousin Fabs. He's our guitar player, and me. I think we wrote songs individually in the beginning, and then we started working together on it. And we are a remote band, because otherwise it wouldn't have worked in the pandemic. So half of us lives in Berlin, and I live like between Frankfurt and Stuttgart, which is like 500 kilometers away from Berlin. And our drummer lives in Stuttgart. So this is really a different way of how I made music when I was younger, you know. And that was also very, very tempting, I have to say. And we had to find our way still. But we recorded when we have been recording music like 20 years, 25 years maybe. And it's, you know, maybe not 25, but 20 years for sure. And I think we were kind of prepared for it. But when we started, my cousin hadn't played guitar for 10 years. He sold all his stuff, moved to Berlin with his girlfriend, and became a professional photographer.
Wow.
And in the pandemic, his career went down the drain.
Yeah.
And I called him and I was like, man, we're going to make a band. And he was like, oh man, power metal, I don't know. Yeah, of course I'm in. So he comes from Pantera and Megadeth and Metallica background, you know.
Yeah.
And then he discovered actually his love for Dragon Force, which you probably hear on our record.
Yeah, you can. It shines through.
You can probably hear that. And
But isn't it good bringing in those different backgrounds and influences?
Of course.
You know, rather than say, right, we're all from the same scene. Someone can come in from a slightly different background, brings in a fresh perspective, fresh idea, which is only a good thing. I often say this to bands. I say, no, that's good that you're coming from these different scenes, because somebody might have a different interpretation of perhaps performing a song and saying, right, we'll add this riff in here, or we'll take this part out. Perhaps I can add this in with the drums on this section. So that's really interesting to hear. And I love the whole concept with it as well, that it's a very cinematic. You know, it's narrating an intergalactic war. So it is, you know, you mentioned Gaunt's Ghost. It is, for me, when I was listening to it, like a musical version of one of those novels, of a 40K novel, and that come across. And it's funny, there's times when I'm reading, you know, 40K or sci-fi in general, and I'm listening to metal, and the metal is serving as the soundtrack for what I'm reading. Maybe that's just one of my nerdy habits. I don't know if others do.
No, but I definitely have that as well.
Yeah.
I have that as well. And I don't know if you know the Gothic video games. I'm
Yeah,
not sure if
Battlefleet
they were
Gothic.
called Gothic on the international market as well. But
Yeah.
Funny story, when I bought that game, Gothic, the original Gothic, might have also been the second part. Not so sure about that.
Yeah.
I also bought an album by a band called Brainstorm from Germany.
Ooh.
And I think the album was Metos Mortis. You can check
Yeah.
it out later.
Yeah.
And every time I listen to that music, I have those pictures in my mind. You know,
Yeah.
I can't help myself. I always have those pictures before my eyes, and this is what I wanted to go for. You know, and also the Dawn of War games, the Space Marine game, and you know, a lot of awesome stuff. And also the way a story is being told. I really am a massive fan of Baldur's Gate 2.
Yes.
Also, actually, have all three parts. Haven't played the third
No,
part
me either. It's just come out of early
now,
access as well. Yeah.
Really, really come from that old school RPG
Yeah.
background. And so that's very important for me. The story is very important. But I have to say, you know, certain influences, not every power metal hardliner likes what we do. Because
Really?
my vocals are not high enough. My vocals are too
Oh,
distorted. The music is too fast. Well, however, music can be too fast for power metal. I don't know. Some people also do not get that concept.
yeah.
But you know, I always dreamed of making a record like Nightfall in Middle Earth by Blind
Yeah.
Guardian
Yeah.
with that quality of the interludes.
Yeah.
And then I decided no one's going to do it for me, and I have to do it myself. So that's what we did.
There's, you know, man, you find that in every scene, not just metal, in every genre. If it's something that strays from the path, from said formula, then people can be, I'm not saying all people, but at times you can get those where we don't know how to accept this because it's not following, the traditional conventions. It's either too brutal, too fast, too slow. For example, you know, like Death Doom bands, or you've got too many slow parts or whatever. And I think, look, is it good music? Do you enjoy it? That's all that should matter at the end of it. And how can, as you said, power metal be too fast? I mean, I like the fact that you're doing something different because power metal often gets stereotypes, always fantasy, always kind of Lord of the Rings, D&D themes, you know, etc., etc. So I like the fact that you're doing something different. It certainly fits with the themes. I mean, looking at all the track titles, I mean, for example, Castilla Stands, you know, Slipped in the Machine, Sovereign Protects, Dark Runes. It all flows nicely. So I don't know, man. They should give it a chance. If they don't like it, then that's fine. That's up to them. But saying, all right, this is too fast, it just reminds me of what I hear about other music and other genres. If something is slightly different.
Exactly.
And this would bring me to a question that sometimes emerges on the show, and that is, how do people then stand out with? There's so many bands now. You know, you could even make an argument for oversaturation. So how do you be different? You clearly are. That is a way of doing it. It's saying, hey, look, we're playing power metal, fast power metal. Look at our themes. Look at our influence. We're presenting you with, if you like, an interactive musical novel. There's a story there. The music accompanies that. Listen to it, enjoy it, immerse yourself in that world. Perhaps if they've never come across 40K or science fiction in general before, then they'll think, oh man, I'll start reading that, listening to these guys as I'm reading said novel. All relates. That's how people should approach it, in my opinion. And it's also, as I said, it's making you have that unique quality and stand out, which is a good thing. You know, that's not me stroking your ego.
You know, I do not mind at all if somebody doesn't like our music, if
Yeah.
somebody doesn't want to give it a chance. I don't care. But I'm not going to listen to their opinions. To be honest, some guy writing band definitely needs a singer. Yes, probably, but I've still got a record deal. What about you? You know, I don't give a fuck. And just because a total stranger on the internet tells me my band needs a singer, I'm not going to quit singing. You know, I'm not giving a shit.
Yeah.
This is what I love to do, and I will keep doing it. I don't care, man. There's nothing to lose. Um, we're all 40s to mid 40s. Our bass player is, I think, 48. So we're all dads, you know. We don't have anything to lose. We like doing this, and so we do it. There's
Well,
no ego. The ego is getting left outside of the door,
yeah.
and we're having the time of our lives. It's super awesome.
And that's all that matters is enjoying what you do, whatever it is in life. You've got to enjoy it. It's like martial arts, for example. We have that many. We have our functional martial arts, then traditional martial arts, and it's finding what works for you, what you enjoy. Yes, we have this debate going on, like traditional versus functional. I always say to people, hey, if you want to go and learn even something as Tai Chi, whatever style it is, if you enjoy it and that makes you happy, that's all what it's about, and that's what it should be. And like you said, if someone doesn't like the music, then that's fine if they don't like it. But wasting your time saying, "Oh, hey, you need this or that and the other," it's like, well, dude, come on then. Could you do better? Could you do it? I don't know. I don't have the time and I don't have the energy to go and say, right, I'm going to tell this band I don't like them. That what they're not going to care.
Yeah. Just listen to the next band, man. I don't care, but do not tell me what I should do.
Yeah,
because I'm not giving a fuck anyway.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, that's how it is.
No, that's being real and genuine, because it's like if you enjoy it and you enjoy what you're doing, that's going to come across to people who not only listen to music, but especially in live shows. People are going to see that. They're going to see like the energy. Like, this is perfect segue in for the video for Glorious. That is a fun video. There's that funny moment where there's someone in a bath with wine. I just laughed.
And you know why? Because we only practiced 2 times before we played our first show, and we practiced at our drummer's place. So we had to, like, the guys from Berlin had to drive like 500 kilometers, 600 kilometers to even get there. And then it was just like, it was basically like the best day ever, or the best weekend ever, because we were just enjoying ourselves so much. And then we decided people should see that, because there's so many power metal bands standing on photos like this.
Yeah, and metal as a whole. Yeah, definitely.
I'm like that, man. I'm just, you know what? Going off topic.
Hey, Mario.
See, this is, I like to have fun, and I like stupid things. And if someone has a problem with that and thinks metal should be more serious, well, go listen to bands that are more serious then.
Yeah.
Because I'm not.
Dude, I can relate so well, because I have a very eccentric sense of humor. And I've been I always talk about this with people that come on the show. I have a very visual, overactive imagination. I see everything in my mind like a movie. Humor, everything. When I listen to a band, the story plays in my mind. I can be the type of person where I'm walking down the street and I just start laughing because I'll remember that joke, or I'll see it, I'll think of an idea and it'll pop in my head, and people will be like, did you just get let out the lunatic? But yeah, dude, it's just fun. Yes, the serious bands and music as a whole can be very much a mood thing for whatever mood we're in as well. So it's nice that, hey, here's a band that is having fun, not taking ourselves too seriously. I really feel you on what you're saying on the pose, and it's what I call like the dictator pose sometimes, where they're all like stood with the chest out and they're like,
Yeah.
dude, can someone smile? Do we always have to pose evil? Look,
Yeah,
I know what I'm going to say. If it's a death metal band, I know what I'm going to get when I listen. You can smile; it is allowed.
And most of the times I look at those guys and I'm like, dude, look at your arms. I'm not scared of you.
Yeah.
Not even my mom would be scared of you. Who do you think you're going to fool? I mean, seriously.
I call it pigeon chest syndrome. When you see pigeons and they stick the chests out and they're going, they're trying to. It's like that. And I'm at times I'm like, dude, I know the music is gonna be brutal, fast or whatever. It is okay to smile, giggle once in a while. We don't always have to have the stand like in a cave looking all evil and like, hey, we're live from the nether realm or something. Getting off topic and excited already.
But that is totally fine. I think,
yeah.
And the first show we played was with our friends from Prophecy 23, thrash metal kind of band from around here. And those guys, it was a lesson for us because they were so like real and so fun guys to hang out with.
Yeah.
And they were just having a ball. And that's just, but they were being nice to everyone.
Yeah.
There's no point in being a dick because you're a headliner in a headlining band, There's just no point. And those guys were so nice, and that was really a lesson.
Yeah, well, if people behave like that, fans are going to remember. Word of mouth spreads, and they're going to remember that from that show. It's like, look, this band was arrogant. They didn't have time for us. They didn't care. They didn't appreciate us. And they'll make a mental note like, we're not going to see them again. Won't support them. So I totally feel you. I think, sadly, where we are now, especially being the internet, somebody's always got an opinion, has to share it. Rather than learning to agree to disagree, compromise when necessary, which anyone who's in a band for a length of time know that's a definite skill you need. And it's like, no, now we'll just shout at each other, like that ever does any good. We'll just shout at each other, caps lock each other to death.
Yes.
And I'm like, dude, the time you've spent like arguing with someone on Twitter or whatever, I could have done a full workout at the gym in that time.
Like, I always think if when that happens, I always think, you say our music is shit and my vocals are crap and whatever, but you just spent an hour sitting there typing comments and spending time for something, that you don't even like.
Yeah.
What's the point? For me, it's my music.
Yeah.
But what's the actual point? I can't see it. And I don't understand why people would want to spend time with that. Because I'm doing this because I like it. And I'm not going to stop because some stranger on the internet is telling me, and this is, I'm sorry, but it's whatever.
Yeah, exactly. It's a case of, I mean, if it, look, we can all, I'm not going to say I've never done it. We can all vent with our friends in the real world. I didn't like this movie because of whatever going around. But unless you're doing like something, reviewing it or showing, still be constructive. You don't need to pull something apart. There's always something positive in there, usually. Rather than just going across and, as you said, wasting X amount of time. Totally. So coming into, you've got the opening to the album, which is great, Into the Never, that sets the scene. Lost in the Warp, again, Chaos. I mean, hell, wouldn't definitely ever want to be lost in something like that. I mean, is everything there? Forbidden Knowledge, For the Omni Savior, make me think of all the Machine Spirits, etc. There's so much to unpack here. So I'm curious, was this the original order for the tracks, or did you go back and forth a few times and think, no, this runs better in this manner, so it tells the story maybe in a better way?
Good question. It was not the album was not considered to be an album, or it wasn't written that way. We wanted to do trilogies, publish those only like digital, in a digital setting, and we did with the first 6 songs or so. But then we realized we're not going to get anywhere with that working mode. It was, if you have those songs and you have them ready, you can do it. Yeah. But it's probably giving you more impact to just do an album, because in metal, it just works a lot better, you know? But we wanted to try when we started out, and that was the first 3 songs were for the Omnisavior. I'm sorry, we changed the terms. We can talk about that in a second. And Lost in the Warp and Spacehull. Those were the initial 3 tracks. Well, I recruited a whole band with it, so they couldn't have been so bad, right? And the order was really something we talked about a lot. And I see it kind of like a TV show. Like you see that a lot on TV, in especially in those mystery or fantasy or sci-fi shows. You have a lot of flashbacks and stuff, and you have episodes that start with a fight, whatever, and then you have a flashback 24 hours later, and you have the whole story unfolding, you know. And this is how I wanted to go about it. And also Game of Thrones, a story of fire and ice and fire. What, I can't remember the right way to say it. Also had an impact on me, because I really like it when you have different ways of going at a story, and people are like, how's that related to the story? Yeah, you'll know in 3 albums. I'm going to tell you in 3 albums, but I'm not going to tell you now. I really enjoyed that, but it was never meant to be like a full story in the beginning. And this is why I needed those interludes. I really needed those to connect the songs. Yeah. I'm not sure if we're going to do it to that extent on the next record, but on this record, we definitely needed it, because we just developed that sense of, okay, we want to do a full album. We actually, for a short time, we toyed with the idea of making a double album, you know, because we had enough material for that. And the second album, the songs are written now. The album has been out for 2 months, not even, and we're done with the second record, more or less. Wow. With demo-wise, you know, it's not finished, but the songs are there. And we just said we're going to do the album. And then I said, okay, I need those interludes. We asked our buddy Chris Rogers, who's an actor living in the UK. And he knew a couple guys and girls, and they helped us out. And those guys did like the best job ever. The first idea I had was I wanted to do a lot of those speaking parts myself, because I enjoyed it so much. But it definitely gave us a lot more quality. Yeah. You know, having real actors do that stuff, like Castilia Stands, that speech, that once more into the breach, my friends, Braveheart-like speech. I could not have done that.
But it like adds that, it really does make it like, as we said, a interactive musical novel. Yes. It adds that authenticity. and it's again, it's like seeing you live, and if you ever wanted to bring those actors on stage with you, that that was possible, to narrate various parts or whatever. It's kind of like well, as you said, in a live interactive story and play in a sense. So I I think that's really good because, as I was saying earlier, it's making it different. It stands out. It's not an interlude, say, where there's no narration there. It's just sometimes you can get like the tumbleweed effect, just and that's it.
Yes.
Not saying that's bad when it's ever used. So, but there's something different. There, for example, there's a fantasy indie film at the moment. I don't know if you know. I think it's called Chaos Rising, and I think it's set more in the Warhammer old world, not Age of Sigmar. And yeah, okay, it's the guys have been limited by the budget, but man, they've really tried to go and present what would happen if someone in that world is under attack from one of the Chaos tribes. They don't hold back. They go in with the violence, and they've put loads of things up on YouTube, how the combat training they did, people they recruited. So hearing that, you have done that with your music as well, and to say, no, we want to make this as real and accessible for people as possible, really get the imagination fired up as I'm trying to behave myself and stay calm and not start jumping around. It worked on me. So I think that's awesome, man. Really do.
Thanks a lot. We when we recorded the demos, it was like we really had all those terms from 40K,
Yeah.
like 100% in the legit way. But we tried to contact Games Workshop a couple times. They never got back to us, and I didn't want to risk like a legal thing, so we decided to change the terms and follow our own way, because at the end of the story, the mission is accomplished, but it opens up like 20,000 other missions,
Yeah.
and also another dimension, because right now, on the first album, those guys could travel through the warp.
Yeah.
But now they can also travel through time. And this is giving interesting choices. And this makes it possible for us to, I don't know, put the next record onto a Wild West planet if we want to. Or to put, we can do whatever we want now. And this is going to be interesting and fun. But it's also always going to be those initial characters from the first record. The Commissar is going to be there, and the Skull Marine is going to be there, and the Inquisitor is going to be there. So it's going to be interesting.
It is, and you've got me excited already, because I find in 40K as well, sometimes the scenes and stories that are set out the traditional strands. I mean, again, this goes back to what I was saying about your music and standing out, not using always the traditional conventional method. We must make power metal in this formula.
Yes.
It's like Necromunda, the Hive Worlds, for example,
yep.
Which is very gritty. I mean, they had the game and I haven't played it. God, what was it? First-person shooter. It's actually not that old, and it's set in a hive city. I think it was just called Necromunda. They had the cyborg. It's actually meant to be good, better than Dark Tide, which I sadly got a bit tired of. Anyway, I'm getting off track a bit.
No worries.
This will happen. I love all this stuff, man.
To be honest, I have the same experience. So yeah, definitely feel you.
But I think if you're on one of those worlds, I mean, the good thing there is it can still, as you said, have those characters, but you can tap into that whole space western theme. What's that classic series? Firefly was kind of built like that.
Yeah.
And you're thinking, right, if you've got this, you've got the character there, You could come across other mercenaries, for example. You don't know what native creatures are on that planet they have to survive against. As someone then going to say, I know there's so many ways you could go with it. You know, either being classed as heretics, so we're going to send an inquisitor and a team after them. Man, so much stuff. So
yeah,
the good thing is, with any story there, you've got like what it sounds like, you know, the beginning, middle and end mapped out before you hopefully, you know, go on to another theme, whatever that is you want to do. That story is there. So yeah, you've got the first part. Yes, it's a long album. I do agree. I think it's necessary to introduce people not only to the band, to the stories have said itself, what you want them to do, the music accompanying it. So, I've just knocked the desk again. Trying to not do that. It's because I'm getting excited, you see. Rumblings in the background. Yeah.
Behave.
Yeah. Got some Tyranids under the desk. Shh, quiet. No, but all this sounds absolutely fascinating. So, you know, before we get into talk. Oh, actually, you said did you say that you wanted to chat about Omnisavior? I've remembered that correctly.
Yeah, because you know, originally it was called, of course, Omnisavior, but we decided to change all Warhammer 40k related names in a manner. So, you know, Gene Stealer, Gene Raider, and you know, it was just the safest way because I wanted to publish that stuff. And of course, we're also doing very often we are doing stuff that is not strictly like power metal is today. But you know, when I started listening to metal in, I don't know, 98 or something like that, there were no such things as power metal has to be like so many BPM and the singer has to sound like a dying cat, and it was not it was not like that. There were always people like that, you know, that said it's not power metal, it's like blah, 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 blah. I don't care, man. I like it or I don't like it. But
exactly.
The point is, we often do things that are not conventional because we like to explore different paths. And my dad and my cousin's dad, they were twins, by the way. They were twin brothers. And we actually grew up with a lot of Beatles, especially the first couple of Beatles albums, like the early stuff. And I think you can sometimes hear that a little bit because we like to go for the catchy way and for the catchy opportunity there, and not the like very grand and very pompous and it's more Beatles more Beatles than Queen, I would say. But at the same time, you know, can you imagine a guy in 40k singing like that? No, it's dark and gritty and shitty, and he's singing like that. Of course, you know, it just does not fit what we do.
Definitely, you maybe could make that argument. This is going to be lost on anyone who doesn't know anything about 40k. You could maybe make that argument for the Eldari that perhaps one of them could sing in that manner. Yeah. And I was an Eldari player. You know, I did Craft World, Harlequins, Dark Eldar as well. But yeah, I could imagine one of them just arriving in the battlefield doing that. You are right. I think to be careful with GW because there has been a lot, hasn't there, recently with, I think, those guys who've been making the short films. And they've had a lot of copyright issues with GW. And there's the one, I think he now does animation for GW, and he did that. Was it Astartes? Yeah, Astartes. The one about the Marines. Yeah. Oh man, that was fantastic as well. I loved it. And there's a couple of others around. There was a recent one, I think, the Asta Militarum, aka the Imperial Guard. I think there were there was this might be one of the official animations on GW. It possibly was. And they were under attack from the Dark Eldar. There was like a raid, and they had all the jet bikes and everything. And then the Legion of Marines arrive, but they actually turn out to be Chaos Marines. And they all think, "Oh yeah, we're saved." And I think there's like barely any of them get taken because the Chaos Marines just like kill everything. And I think the commanding officer kind of gives them a choice. Bow down, say, fall to Chaos, worship Chaos, or that's it. And of course, I think maybe one or two of them do, and the others refuse, and it's just like, whoosh, you're gone. So yeah, and there was a point I was going with this, which was related to what you said, and now that point has just vanished into the warp as well. That was so convenient.
No worries, man. But I really, it resonates with me because I watch the same videos and I know all that stuff.
Yeah.
And this was what I wanted to do. This was the vision I had when I started out. And also, there were not a lot of great power metal albums back then. New power metal albums. A couple bands like Terra Atlantica, for example, and also last year's Fraternia was fantastic. But when I started doing this in hold on, I think it was September 2020. Yes, September 2020. When we started writing songs and talking about stuff, there were not a lot of power metal albums that I liked, so I decided I need to do it myself.
Yeah,
just to not not go crazy in the lockdown.
It's to give something to focus on, to give a good creative outlet, to get those feelings out, something positive, or literally you'll go insane. As some people sadly did get those problems from it. I'm not going to sit here and say I haven't had similar experiences. Of course I have, and it's kind of what I've been dealing with. I think now as well, especially in metal, a lot of the genres have become their own entity. Even deathcore, I can remember when deathcore first emerged, people were saying, right, this is for hipsters, this is for posers, blah, 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 blah. Now that has become its own entity and accepted because you've got the different subgenres within it. And I think, as we were saying earlier, it's also about, well, how do you want to share your own vision and passion with people? And I want to do this. This is what I like. This is what I love. I think I can use this in metal. Makes us stand out. As I said, when I got the press release and I read it and I looked and I saw the influences and I thought, man, this is awesome. This really connects with me. I want to listen to these guys, and I listen to the music. And I thought, you know what? Even like on Glorious Times, which has that fun feel, and a lot of the other songs, the speed and that fun energy, I can see the troops in my mind, whether it's, Black Templars, for example, or whoever. I can see them on the Marine bikes going across that battlefield with that plane because it's got that high energy, like Glorious Times. I can see the banners being waved, the commissars, the sergeants there, everything, man.
Yes.
That is all very contained with it, and it's fun, which it should be, So I mean, so that's what makes it stand out in my mind. And I noticed, as you said, with changing some of the words to avoid any trouble with GW, like Spacehull, instead of Spacehull, for example. It's just one of the but you can see what it is. Anyone who's got that connection. And you were mentioning the flashbacks in sci-fi and fantasy earlier. I don't know if you ever caught The Expanse. They did a lot of that as well. I missed the last 2 seasons, so I still need to find out how it ends. But man,
same here.
So no, I think it's all really, really fantastic. So, did you? I'm not sure if I asked this earlier. Did you first then? I know you've got the vision, the passion, and you had the idea in mind for the lyrics. Were those wrote first, and then did the music follow? And you think, right, this riff or this part really goes with this title, or did you do the music first? I think you did mention it earlier. I think.
Well, it's hard to say, to be honest, because it's a blur. We had like 20 songs to pick from, and some were finished, some weren't. And what I did in the beginning was I did like a collection of topics, themes, factions, of phenomena that I wanted to write about, that I wanted to write songs about. There was also Spacehull initially was called Strike of the Baneblade.
Ooh.
It was it, but we switched it because it fit better. It just fit, the words fit better.
Yeah.
And I at that time I read a novel. I can't remember how it was called, but I read a novel about two space marine chapters invading a space hull, and that kind of gave me the idea to incorporate that into one of our songs, but to put it into the context in the bigger story, And the story, of course, the story is super weird. Like the ship of Captain McNeil from Lost in the Warp being caught up in a space hull, and 1,000 years later, it just gets out of the warp, and the Space Marines enter and find him as the only survivor. Yes, of course, it's weird, but in 40K, those things happen. And
Yeah.
1,000 years are something in 40K. It's like it's
Nothing,
nothing,
isn't it?
you know. And that was kind of like the idea behind it. And yeah, for some songs as well. For Glorious, I didn't have any ideas except for the chorus, and that was not even my idea, but my cousin's idea. So I tried to put it in context, and we already had the next song, The Escape. We already had that one, and I needed to come up with something that fits the story.
Yeah.
And it just organically clicked together somehow. I can't even explain how it did. I don't know.
Sounds like it's just naturally come together at the right time, which is great. So with we mentioned 40K, obviously, as we are. What is it then that you think 40K just fits with metal so well? Because I've always thought, man, more bands, well, of course I'm going to say this, but more bands should use 40K because there is that element there, and it just seems to fit so well, and I'd like to see more of it. And maybe that's just me.
You know what? I'll tell you something. I hate happy ends. I hate happy ends in movies, in shows. I really hate it because no one has the guts anymore to make an ending that's not a happy end, right? Because it's not going to sell that well. And I really like the grimdark aspect of 40K. I really like that, the futileness of it all. And of course, we're not a band that is war sucks. We hate war. War sucks, and I hope nobody in the world has to go through war any longer. But it's not going to be a reality, And what a lot of thrash metal bands from the 80s did was they, like Slayer, for example, they just describe war. Some people say they glorify it as well, but I can't see that, to be honest. They just describe it in a very matter-of-fact way. And this is what we do. And this is, I think, very untypical of power metal, because that valor and glory and honor and stuff. Of course, we use that tropes too, but I think if it's still futile, and if it's still the outcome is going to be the worst outcome that's possible, I think that is a lot different from what you see on most TV shows, you read in most novels, and yeah, this is just how I see it. I I like that.
This leads me perfect follow-on here to set up a artillery barrage of questions, which can be
Yeah.
triple layered. First one, when I think you said the captain's coming out of the warp 1,000 years later, which is nothing in 40k, and as you were saying about there's not really seeing that grittiness in movies and shows so much anymore. Everything kind of has to be very toned down, popcorn filler, not too dark. And the problem is with that, I'm not saying we can't have too much of one thing. I know I'm kind of contradicting myself when I was saying more bands should use 40k. So we need that balance, definitely. But if it becomes where I feel we've got too much of the soft and nicey nice, and it becomes cheesy, it's like, oh God, no, well, I know it's supposed to be escapism, but if you place yourself in that world, that wouldn't happen. You wouldn't be this seasoned trained fighter that easily, for example. I've seen that happen way too much. And one of the classic sci-fi movies that your answer, when you tell me about Captain McNeil coming out of the warp, which made me think, the only time I've kind of seen kind of a movie, and I've heard people describe it as a unofficial 40k. I think you're nodding. I think you know what I'm going to say. The Event Horizon, the Sam Neill.
Yes, exactly.
Dude, that is very much God. That is chaos with all when he's cooking himself and everything. And that's
the only chaotic or like splatter like thing you ever see in that movie is 3 seconds.
Yeah.
When they show the video footage of the bridge,
Yeah.
And the whole rest of the movie is more or less like that threatening atmosphere you have in movies like Aliens as well. Yeah. But nothing really happens.
Yeah.
And that's really Event Horizon was I don't know how many times I watched that movie. I don't know, but I really liked it. Yeah.
It's a classic. It's held in high regard. I definitely concur with the Grimdark with 40k. Look, yeah, of course, we're not promoting war for a second or saying we want people to go through that. But 40k for me, and I mean this in such a nice way, is such an over-the-top, over-exaggerated kind of theatrical, very grim, dark theatrical world of a possible reality that could happen. And there's something gripping about it. It's not like, you're getting some sci-fi shows where a conflict is resolved in one episode or a couple, that's it. You could have, say, 2 species that absolutely hate each other and everything is resolved in a couple of episodes. It's like, yeah, join me around the table. Here's a cup of coffee, right? That's it. It's all done now. That does not happen in 40k. It really doesn't. It's a continual fight for survival. Everything wants to kill you. If you're a human and a standard human, not only do you have the threat from all the alien species in the galaxy, from your fellow humans, where you can be accused of being a heretic at any time, even if you're in the Astra Militarum or higher, or higher, even the Marine, that can happen. You don't carry out something to your superiors liking. It's right, heretics. All right, well, exterminus on the planet, gone, bye. And it's horrible. But there's something gripping about it. But in all that darkness and grimness and misery, they still do find time to inject even a little bit of comedy, like dark humor, and that's with the orcs. They all talk like Cockneys, and it's like green skins, and it's essentially Mad Max in 40k. And some of the stuff that do, it's so funny. So there's still even that there. People would think, oh no, but actually there is. It's kind of is kind of that subtleness. The banter, even with the standard troopers and the Aston Militarum, for example, there is signs of that there, putting them up against, say, the Eldari, who are known as quite pompous. I remember once there was a story I read, Polly, and man, this was great. There was an assassin. I forget the novel now. Or it might have been one of the codices in the law, and there was an assassin from the Imperium that was charged with going, I think it was taking a baby from somewhere. And when she got to this place, she actually must have been through surgery, whatever. This is just an example of how 40k is so over the top, but fantastically brilliant. She opened her entire mouth, put the baby in her mouth, and then left this place, and later kind of like regurgitated the baby. And I'm like, God, could you imagine going into the Marvel Cinematic Universe and say, hey, here's my idea for a movie. We're going to have this assassin take... There's no way they would do that. So, yeah, I think that's why...
Also, Commissar Kane, perfect example of hilariousness. It really... The novels are more boring than than you would think most of the time, but when the fun starts, it's super funny. It's really like that. That author reminds me really a lot of Stephen King, like shushing you for 200 plus pages just to like smash you over the head with a Bane blade.
Yeah. Do you think, this is what I want to ask you, what do you think the chances are of us ever seeing a movie on the big screen? Do you have much hope for Henry Cavill trying to get this, I think, what's the series he's trying to get about, is it
Eisenhorn, probably.
Eisenhorn, that's it, yeah. Do you think...
I am a massive fan of Henry Cavill.
Yeah.
That dude can't be praised enough, in my opinion. The way he did The Witcher was phenomenal, in my opinion. And yeah, that guy is... If someone's going to do it right, the right way, it's Henry Cavill. Yeah. To be honest, I can't see anyone else doing it.
Are you worried then that perhaps, do you think it could be watered down? Or Henry, we know he's a 40k player himself, I said, no, they has to be kept authentic. And as I said, do you think then we could possibly see a movie on the big screen? I mean, for it to work, certainly on the big screen, it has to be R-rated. It can't be toned down. It's just not 40k. But it might be difficult.
What happened when there were, in the high time of Marvel movies, what happened was that Deadpool came along. And everyone was like, it's too gritty, it's never going to fly. Yeah, there's going to be a third part of Deadpool now. So they're even bringing Hugh Jackman back.
Yeah.
To be honest, I think people are sick of that same being fat, that same scheme every time. Like
it's not predictable.
Those dramedies or romantic comedy stuff where every movie is alike. I think people want to have individual choice, and it can also be gritty. And people that watch that kind of movie, of course, they can take a sad ending, a brutal ending. I don't know. They don't have to have an happy end. My opinion.
Yeah, I hope that somebody definitely. I think it has got boring. It's got too tiresome. It's funny, man. I used to be a big Marvel fan. But seeing things that I've read, I'm going to sound like an elitist now. And no, I'm not. I just wanted to see, I just got tired of the same repetitive folio. And it was like my passion was being eroded. And then I think after Avengers Endgame, that was when I thought, I'm done now. And then the movies after them now have been so bad. I've seen quite a few of them. They've been completely awful, and I'm like,
it's just making money.
It
now
is.
it just turned finally into not like no concept at all, and like arbitrary stuff and making money. And you know, the first Avengers, there were so many moments in that movie that were so hilarious, like the Hulk takes Loki and he goes bam bam bam, and then he goes again bam bam. That was like, it was killing me. I was rolling on the floor for 2 minutes laughing.
Poonie God.
Poonie God, right? That was the scene, you know. And I think people do not want that, and that same old thing being fed to them again and again and again. Because I think what happens now is there's going to be a diversification of movies, or of the movies industry, hopefully. Because I think this is a crossroads where we are right now, or where they are right now. I don't know. And you know, those people not working right now for working conditions and for payment issues and whatever, that is one side of it. But the other side of it, and I think that's going to be coming out of it, is going to be a diversification of like a lot more maybe indie movies with less budget, but like better stories. Because if you look at Amazon Prime or Netflix, there's a lot of sci-fi movies and they're all trash because they're boring and they're not it. I don't know. They're just not. The people that do that stuff have that vision, but they can't put the vision into how it's captivating, you know. And this is really something. It might read great, but it does not look great, and you can't follow it, and it's all generic.
Yeah,
and I'm really hoping on that change to change soon.
I hope so too, because as I was saying, I feel we've lost the balance, and it's. I think I feel it more with being a passionate fan for those things. For example, I recently saw The Flash, and my God, it was so bad. The TV series started well. The Reverse Flash was such a fantastic, menacing villain, and then that got too cluttered after the first, I think, 2 seasons, and it just got worse and worse. But I do prefer, I think Grant Gustin is his name, as the Flash compared to Ezra Miller's portrayal, which was abysmal. But as you were saying, Polly, it was just the same thing. You could have pretty much got a piece of paper out, say, right, this is what's going to happen. Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, closing scene, done. It's there. It's boring. We need that diversification, especially from a story point. Indie film, which is something I'm a passionate supporter about, you definitely see more freedom in writing. This leads me to a question I can set up to ask in a moment. And I'm just hoping with 40K, I think if Henry Cavill can get this series going and he does well, and I think I read that Amazon were going to back this as well. And I know people might be worried with the recent Lord of the Rings series he did, but Henry Cavill is such a great actor, and I think he cares so much about 40K that I want to do something faithful to it. I think seeing just this gritty story, even for people that are new to 40K, would be so captivating for them. It would be different. It would be the Star Wars that we need, actually, a new kind of gritty adult Star Wars in a way to draw people in. And then hopefully somebody comes along and says, right, we're going to try this on a big screen. Maybe we'll try with a kind of middle range budget to start with. That does well, and then we'll go on to a larger budget. And that would be fantastic, and it would be something different. I mean, just hearing a bolt gun, for example, on that screen, I think I'd wet myself on the spot. But yeah, anyway. So do you find then, you know, as a yeah, perfectly moving on now.
Yeah.
Just put that visual there for people.
All good. All
Do
fine.
you find then, as like with the independent film, the same with independent music? Does that give you more control over your creativity, your vision? I'm not going to go and say, oh, I'm against all labels, because there's still got to be a realistic label backing for touring, for example, is necessary. And anyone who says, no, I'm not going to sign on this label, who can then put me on the road and put a tour on for me in South America or wherever, is silly, because, you know, that it's helping you get out there. So I've just realized I've asked such a long-winded, loaded question there. So, one, do you like having that, say, control and more creative freedom with your writing and music? And then a follow-up to that would be, so how do you think then as a band you try and find that balance if you were on a label that could give you, say, that financial backing for a global tour?
Oh well. You know, our label, I can't thank the guys enough. They did not once like question what we do. They were just like, you have a great concept, you have a great like idea, we really like it, we would like to publish it. We would like to publish. What's up?
Yeah, I think it was
Lost you
just,
for a second.
yeah, I noticed that it was the warp just interfering, but
Yeah.
seems we're stable now.
Should check the time now. If it's 1,000 years later, we might have.
Yeah. Come out and all of a sudden turn into a demon.
No, but to be honest, those guys never interfered with anything we did.
Great.
And we like it that way.
Yeah.
We like doing weird things, and we're all, you know, I told you, we're all dads. We're all in our 40s. Going on a global tour is not going to happen. I mean, I've got an awesome job. Our drummer is a teacher. In Germany, teachers are employed by the state, so he is not. He can't go on vacation just like that. Right. You know, it's just not going to happen. And we knew that when we started, and we're all fine with it. But we're still doing it, you know, because why not do it? I mean, why do you want to sit there with 80 years and think about, I should have done that? No,
definitely not.
And if I want to buy an orange guitar, I'm buying an orange guitar.
Well, yeah,
playing it as well.
Yeah, what the hell does it matter?
We like that Power Rangers thing as well. Everyone has color and stuff. I dig that.
Yeah.
But no, I don't think that it's going to happen with a global tour, because I don't see how it's possible logistically. I mean, of course, if a company comes and tells me, okay, here you go, here you have 1 million each, and you can go on a tour for 1 year, we need to probably talk about it.
Yeah.
But other than that, it's just not going to happen.
Well, maybe you know, getting on one of the festivals in Germany, and then the countries, and then, you know, where people visit, and that's a way of still getting you out there. And that's really great to hear that about the label, because sometimes you hear from some artists where they'll say, no, I can't say that while they're with them, but, you know, we read or hear through conversation when we talk to them that, no, I was locked into this particular way of doing things. I couldn't do this or that. So that's nice to hear. And I'm guessing it's a sense of maybe clear communication. This is who we are. This is what we do. We want to do it this way. Is this fine for you? It's like, that's great. So that is refreshing to hear.
You know, it does not mean at all. I mean, we're situated in the middle of Europe, you know? that does not mean at all that we can't go to fans and play Hellfest or play
Exactly.
Wacken or Summer
Exactly, yeah.
Breeze, or it it's all possible.
Yeah.
But we're not going to play North America tour for 3 years, for 3 years or 3 months.
Yeah.
It's just not possible, and it's not also not. I don't think not necessarily the way we need for our music, because our music, as you said, is our album is a lot different from traditional metal albums, and there's always going to be that narrative element in it, and some of it works live, some we mix it live. We have a couple of those intros in between songs, so we can drink a little bit of water in between songs, because playing guitar and singing is super hard, especially if you're over 40. But we also have like interactions with the audience as well, because I don't think it's going to be, we're not Tool, we're not standing there in between songs and the keyboarder is hitting that thingy, and that does not work for us. We're a fun band. People are supposed to have fun, and we want to have fun, and that serious. I mean, we take our music serious, but ourselves, no way.
Yeah. Oh, I'm the same, man. I can't take myself seriously whatsoever. But it's funny you mentioned Tool. I was actually just chatting about that as well with somebody recently. When he sings, he can have his back turned to the audience, and supposedly it's so. I think did someone say, "Oh well, no one is bigger than the band. He's not bigger than the band." But yeah, I'm not a huge Tool fan or anything, but I thought, well, no, when I see band live, I want to see the guy. I don't want to watch somebody with the back turned. I'm like, no, I don't like that. And I think for the nature of your style, the way you're presenting it, there needs to be that interaction, especially with the fun that you have. But hey, make the story, okay, yeah, it's dark and gritty, but make it fun as well. Like Glorious, as you said, I keep touching this, but I think it epitomizes the album so well, because yeah, I've got those images of seeing all the troops of Cadia, for example, running across the battlefield, anyone, but it's still got that fun element as well. It's got that energy, so it's still very enjoyable, and it's that perfect capsulization of all those themes integrated so well. And if you, like you said, if you played Hellfest, Wacken, Bloodstock over here, Download, for example, any of those festivals around Europe where there's people from all over the world go to them anyway. So that's gonna put you out there for sure. I mean, you've got my nerdy imagination is going overkill. You've got me even thinking now of indie films and you guys on the soundtrack and visuals going along with it. It'd be absolutely fantastic.
I would so love to be on the soundtrack for Rogue Trader.
Oh my God, yes.
Man, that game.
Yeah.
I would so love to be on that soundtrack.
Yeah.
I would like, I thought about writing a song and sending it to the development team.
Why not?
I'll probably I'll do that. I'll just do that. And I think you can do a lot of that stuff with connecting it to other media as well.
Yeah.
And as I said, when I listen to certain songs, I always have things in mind, and it doesn't stop at like sometimes also situations. You have flashbacks to certain situations as well, and why should we keep those things separated?
Inspiration for music, art, film, storytelling, anything. In my opinion, I've read this as well. For example, like people saying the best inspiration for sci-fi comes from outside of sci-fi. I recently said that on another show, and I still can't remember where I read it, but I know I did. It was in a book. Yes, it was.
Yeah.
But if you can draw from that inspiration from everything, as you were saying, that can make things more relatable for people, more authentic, give that bit of grit to it. And why not? It doesn't have to come from the same formula all the time. It doesn't make it any less of a power metal band, a thrash metal band, or any metal you want. So outside of sci-fi, I'm going to come back and ask you what some of your favorite factions would be in 40K.
I was actually thinking about asking this question myself.
I'll tell you what,
it's the Imperial Guard for me.
Oh,
because can you imagine being surrounded by 3-meter big monsters and not crapping your pants? Those guys are super awesome, man.
Yeah. Do you know, Astra Militarum, aka Imperial Guard, for me, are one of the most interesting because it's just regular humans. It's regular humans often being conscripted and forced into fighting literally survival for the planet. Rarely see a space marine, or when they do, it's this like 9-foot juggernaut built like a fridge freezer. Or like you said, you can have the mutant humans, the Ogrins, aka ogres, stood aside them. And that would be like, and I'm supposed to keep this together. And I just find them so interesting for that reason, because they are just the regular humans in a world where you've got the genetically superpowered space marines, Tyranids, Chaos, Tau, the Necrons, orcs, everything around them. And it's like, how the hell do I survive against this when the majority is much more stronger than me, or is more agile, can be better equipped? Though I often feel sorry for those guys that get abandoned when chaos comes along and the whole planet gets consumed.
They're expendable.
Yeah,
it's just like that. They are. You lose 1 million of soldiers, no worries. We've got plenty more.
Yeah,
that's the thing. And also, I'm not a big fan of Space Marines per se. I like that ordered structure and stuff like that. But being a post-human and being in a superpowered suit, in armor, that's a different thing, and they're built for different things. But what I also liked was what's the Space Marine branch that works for the Inquisition?
Is it the Grey Knights?
No, Blackguard. Oh, Jesus Christ!
It's the Grey. Oh, Demon Hunters. I think that is the Grey Knights, isn't it? Who I said Grey Knights, Raven Guards.
Yeah, but the Grey Knights are the Psychers. That's not what I mean. Those guys from different put together. Yeah. I can't remember the name right now, but that was very interesting for me because the interaction between those guys was interesting for me as well. Man,
I'm gonna really make myself look like a whiner here. I'm not the biggest fan of Marines either. I don't mind the Black Templars, the Raven Guard, because they're pretty much like space ninjas. I don't mind them. I definitely prefer Astra Militarum, and I also like, who are the guys who are on Mars? I've forgotten the names of the Skitarii. I think it is the ones who, I find them really interesting. I kind of wish they were their own faction, because as much as I love 40K, my frustration with it, my God, there are so many Space Marine chapters. Do we need an Imperium army? Like, you've got 30 million already. I would like to see some more genuine aliens, some kind of non-humanoid species coming into the tabletop. I know there's some in the lore, other than, we've got the Tyranids, and a lot of people like the Necrons. I'm not really that crazy on them myself. The Orcs are funny. Chaos Space Marines, well, just naughty Space Marines, really. Now I'm sounding like the pompous Eldari player, and that I am. Yeah, I'll shut up. Someone said, shut up, you pompous Eldari.
Oh, man. I'm still thinking about those,
Tell you what, let's try. I'll try.
Guys, it's not Death Guard, but something. Deathwing, Death Guard. I can't remember, man. I'm sorry.
Space Marines who work for the Inquisition. I'm going to Google this because this is going to bug me, and otherwise I'd have to email you in the middle of the night saying, okay, Inquisition Alliance Space Marine chapters, Blood Drinkers, Death Eagles, Flesh Eaters, Red Talons, Charnel Guard. I don't know how to pronounce that. Carcharodons, Minotaurs.
Man, I even read a couple books, but I don't have my Kindle down here, so I can't look it up.
Yeah, I know what you mean, because there's an interest in I think that's what's interesting about doing an Inquisition army as well, because you can draw so many troops from Sisters of Battle, Astra Militarum, those Space Marines that you're on about. Death Watch. Yes, sorry. Yes.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Those are, oh no, man, it happens to me when I'm in the middle of asking questions, as you saw. I can then all of a sudden it escapes. Oh, don't worry, man. Yeah. But I have got a soft spot for some of the agents from the Inquisition as well, or those sent on solo missions or spec up teams where there's a goal there, because it's like focusing on one singular aspect and say there's just 5 of them. I think that was my disappointment with the Dark Tide game, because I just felt after I got over my initial excitement with it, I thought there's just nothing else much here to do. I know there was supposed
to be it was the same with Vermintide, actually.
Yeah.
It was the same. It was like, and that's all right now. I mean, it's nice for 5 minutes, but if I want to play Counter-Strike, I'm going to play Counter-Strike, And
I also want, Polly, I know there was the Necromunda game, which was a first-person shooter, and we've got Space Marine 2 coming, but I want us to have a full-on 40k first-person shooter. I know there's the recent, Bolt Gun, but a modern-looking one. Even one we could preferably pick co-op, like a Battlefield or something.
Like basically, Halo is probably the next best thing.
Yeah. Something like that, because my frustration with Dark Tide is I thought the score was fantastic. I really loved it, very orchestral. That was beautiful, and it looked great. It was gritty. It had the banter, but there was too much melee for me. I thought, it's Vermintide with a 40k skin. Not that Vermintide is a bad game.
Yes, exactly.
I wanted more guns.
I actually hope to find that in Inquisitor, but that's also, it's just not what I thought it is. It's too repetitive and too generic. It's not really following a story, and there's so many side missions you have to do in order to keep the story advancing. It kills the vibe for me. But what I really liked was the game about the Mechanicus invading a Necron's planet.
Ooh, I've seen that. It's turn-based, isn't it? But it's actually meant to be really good.
I really like the atmosphere. Also, the soundtrack is very much on point. Try that out.
Yeah,
it's really interesting.
A lot of people actually, I've never played them, but they say the Battlefleet Gothic games based on, Gothic was actually really good, especially Battlefield Gothic 2, because I think it tied in to the Eldari God of the Dead arriving, who I'm going to butcher her name. It's in one of the books, Yuravine or something. Eventually, she takes so many Craft World Eldar, Dark Eldar, some famous characters from both factions follow her and saying, look, this God of the Dead, we can unite again and we can stop our souls going to Slanesh. And this is how we can kind of reunify the Eldar Empire again. Pretty good books, because I think, is it Gulliman from the Ultramarines is heavily involved in the stories. I've only read the first 2, and it was quite a while ago.
I don't know them. I don't know them. It made me think of that story about a exploration of the wow, Jesus Christ! You can tell English is not my native language. Basically an expedition from Mars. Being sent into the unknown. Taking a couple of different people along as well.
Yeah.
One of them is a rogue trader,
Yes.
and they go into a rift or something, and they team up with Eldar somehow.
Yes.
I can't remember the title of that book, but that was interesting as well.
Yeah, I know which one you're on about. It's fantastic. And your English is excellent. I'm actually studying Deutsch, but it's
Oh,
nowhere near
really?
conversational level. I literally only know like a few words, a few greetings. So I could probably get through like a sentence or two. And then they'd just stop. It'd be like, yeah, and it'd just be, yeah, yeah, yeah. And like,
You know,
natürlich.
in, to be fair, we learned German in school from fifth grade on, and
Yeah,
I also studied English at university. So
yeah.
yeah, I've got an MA in English
Wow, right.
literature and linguistics. So I think I spent a lot of time bringing my English to that
Yeah,
level it is right now. And also, I actually work mostly in English.
yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, well, it's become the common language. It's like the modern Latin.
yeah,
I'm learning Spanish, Swedish, and German. Um,
Swedish,
yeah, yeah.
interesting.
Or I'm gonna have to add French. I was doing French, and then I dropped it. Thought, no, this is getting too much. 4 languages at once. But
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
gonna have to re-add French because I'm finding most people I speak to outside of the UK and America are either speak French, German, or Swedish. And I thought it would just be useful, going forward if I can at least I've got some basic understanding or something that helps. It's just essential, and I find languages like music.
Mm.
Just kind of different sounds to them, and I can hear those subtle differences on certain words. So it's another nerdy interest of mine. Um, Going back just to your music for a moment or two. I know I've kept you here for quite a while, Polly, but you just
No
let me know.
worries.
You just let me
As
know
long
when you.
as No worries. As long as I don't have to go pee, we're all right.
Yeah, well, you just let me know when you've got to either go take a little walk or whatever, and then no, that was awful.
Yeah.
Um, so this God, man, I think this could be a tough one here. Um, Are there any songs on the 26 tracks that are particular personal favorites and you really feel that really emphasize the story that you're wanting to put across to people?
The centerpiece, actually, A New Hope. This
Mm,
is my absolute favorite because it has everything that we do. It has like that thrash metal things in between.
yeah,
It
yeah,
has a lot of double bass, super fast double bass. Um, and it has also like a very pronounced solo part where we just throw solos here and there. It's a duel, and banjo duel comes to mind. And it's really when we wrote that song, my cousin was like, "Okay, that song is done," and I'm like, "No, that song is not even half done. Let me have my way with it." And I presented it to the guys, and they were just mind blown. I think it was like 4 minutes, and I pushed it to 8 minutes, I think. And
yeah,
some people do not like it because, of course, I mean, we started doing this, and it has that kind of naive way of doing it. But I've always been a fan of longer songs by bands like, for example, Ed Guy or Halloween or
yeah,
Black Guardian. And I thought, I want to try that because I want to try something apart from that typical A B C solo part, uh, B ending, from that typical like um verse and chorus and verse and chorus game.
yeah,
So I really like New Hope, and it's also a bit programmatic, to be honest, because however dark it is, there's always going to be something to make it more bearable, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
And even for a couple of minutes, but if you're in a dark place, just find things that make it less dark, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Hope is never, there's always hope. The options might really suck, you know? But you always have options.
There always is, and that's good for a storytelling aspect as well. Saying, look, there's no matter how bad it gets, okay, it might be bad, but there's always something there, and that keeps people hooked as well. Really interesting.
Have you read the Dresden Files?
I haven't. No, I've heard of them, but
Those are pure gold.
right.
You really should,
Oh,
because that guy always is presented with like super miserable options.
is,
They all suck, and he basically tries to pick the least evil one, but he gets himself into so much trouble by that. It's hilarious and really really still sad as well, you know,
didn't they?
being
Did they?
forced to do things that you don't like to do.
Yeah, didn't they make a TV? If I remember this right, because I think I've seen it on TV on
Yeah, that TV
reruns of
show.
the Dresden Files.
Sorry,
Remember
but
that?
that TV show, you're right,
Yeah.
absolutely right. But that TV show has nothing to do with the books.
Butchers it, does it?
Like
All right.
nothing. It's really butchering the books, and the fun thing is, the author of the books is called Jim Butcher. You know?
The authentic butcher.
And but you said something earlier I wanted to comment on. You said that the best ideas in sci-fi come from outside sci-fi.
Yeah.
And you can also put that on fantasy. If you look at Game of Thrones, there's been a wall separating East and West Germany for I don't know how long. You know, there's a wall in China for I don't know how long it is, you know? And that is an example of that, I think. And I think even Jim Butcher wrote a series of novels about a wall separating something like a Roman style empire from the wild, like barbarian countries, you know, and that is something you find a lot in fantasy. And I agree. It's always nice to have a different spin on it and to flee this world, because when I finished recording the songs for the album, and one of the last songs I did was Glorious, and I turn on TV and I see the news about Russia invading Ukraine, and I'm like, this is exactly what that song, the feeling that song is about, but I'm not so happy about the fact that I made that discovery. I'd rather not have seen that movie, you know. And for me, I felt so much sympathy with the people in Ukraine at that moment, because I had put myself into that place and tried to understand how it feels, you know.
Yeah, it's. I mean, there was World War One, huge influence on Tolkien behind Lord of the Rings, writing out the horrors that were experienced during that period. And yeah, you're right with those examples of the wall. You could even stretch it to North and South Korea in the sense of, okay, it might not be the physical wall, but that border, the split.
Yeah.
And you had me in your answer. You got me thinking of. It's not, I guess, a wall in a sense, but that Tom Cruise movie where they're told they can't go past that line into the desert for some reason, or you'll die, or something horrible happened, and somebody, I think, does at one time and realizes, hey, this is actually okay. God, no. I know it's a Tom Cruise movie. I know it is.
My
Forget.
confession would be I'm not a Tom Cruise fan at all, so I try not to watch
Yeah.
Tom Cruise movies.
Right.
I just told my wife the other day, I don't think I've ever seen a Mission Impossible movie.
Oh God, I've seen them all.
No, I'm serious. I don't think I have.
Well, I'll say it like this: it's not the. I find them entertaining. I like that series, but there's worse, like the Fast and the Furious movies, which are never going to end. They are just going to keep.
Yeah. But I enjoyed the last Dungeons and Dragons movie.
You know, it's funny you mention that,
Honorable
Polly.
Thieves.
Yeah, that
It
has.
was it was surprisingly well done.
Did you like the
True.
dragon, the pot-bellied
You know?
dragon who was rolling in the Mines of Moria kind of scene?
Yeah, exactly.
That was
That-
hilarious.
Kind of interesting. And also, if you watch the first 3 Dungeons and Dragons movies,
Yeah,
I would not have expected it to be this good, to be honest, because those 3 movies are kind of funny. But
yeah.
it's like when I studied at university, I would one of my best friends would come over. We would buy a I don't know what's it called in English, to be honest, a casket of beer, like 20 bottles of beer.
Right, yeah.
We would order pizza, and then we would watch 2 or 3 of those stupid movies. That kind of movies.
Yeah.
And I was surprised how well it was done, to be honest.
It was a lot better than I expected.
Yeah.
Honestly, the amount of nerdy, if you like, the not even B movies, I'll call them Z movies I've watched from fantasy, horror, and sci-fi, and I watched them all. But the thing is, they're entertaining. They don't take themselves seriously. They know what they're putting out there is of a limited range.
Yeah.
But they are funny. They're entertaining. You do get some of them though, which will have a really good story. And I remember going into Dungeons and Dragons Among Thieves, and I was thinking, well, I was expecting disappointment recently. I'm going to be honest, as I have with Hollywood. And it was very entertaining from the part where they burst out the window with the Birdman creature and they were going to be released anyway. Spoilers alert, folks. The dragon which stole the movie, this overweight dragon that can't breathe fire, that's rolling, that whole camera scene where it pans back. And as I said, it's like a Mines of Moria scene, and the party of heroes are trying to, flee. And you've just got this dragon rolling, can't breathe fire because he's too big. That was hilarious. Richard E. Grant was fantastic in that movie as well. Certainly really did his part well. And it was good. It was entertaining. And it was still faithful to Dungeons and Dragons. The nerd in me would have loved to see a Drist movie one day about how he
Mordekainen's fist. I was like, it was so super awesome. I actually stopped the movie, told my wife this is actually a spell that exists in Dungeons and Dragons for real, like for real, and then we resumed watching.
But it does though, because it's 50. Like, oh yeah, that's real. That creature, the owl bear, I've forgotten the name. I was like, whoa. It was good for it was certainly good for what it did. I think we'll definitely see another one. Chris Pine, I thought was fantastic in the film as well.
Yes, also did not expect it, but I also loved what he did with the Outlaw King movie. So that was it seems to be something he likes, so just encourage it.
I'm hoping, like you were saying earlier, we get this diversification where we start to get some things that are out of the box, even if they've got a smaller budget, that maybe have a little bit better story that can present us with something different, rather than a lot of the time when we've been going to the movie theaters, it's like, I'll choose this one or this one because that's the lesser evil. I'm not going to suffer the most in this one. The Meg 2, why the hell?
Oh, come on. I find it super funny to make a movie about an even bigger shark. It's not as stupid as fucking tornado with sharks.
Oh,
Makes
Sharknado!
the
I've seen
plane
them.
but come on, it's fun, you
The
know,
first
and
one
it's
was
ridiculous, and you just have to expect it to be as ridiculous
oh,
as it sounds.
the best moment in that movie is I mean I preferred the first one, but I'll give it. Yeah, sometimes. I mean, I thought it was the Fast and Furious with sharks. It kind of had that feel. But the part where I think it was the Jason Statham where one of the megalodons has him kind of cornered and he's trying to kick it with his feet. Kick this thing's head. I'm like, no, it's just.
I mean, you know, but that's like you cannot stop such a force of nature, and that's something that is. I just rewatched Jurassic Park because my wife recently told me she never saw Jurassic Park when it came out because she was when the first one came out. I think in was it 93? She was 6 years old, so of course she did not watch that movie.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have let her watch it too if I were her parents. So, but that I just realized the first Jurassic Park movie was really well done as well, and the second and third are utter trash. To be honest, the story is just like the same thing in the second and the third.
Yeah.
The setting, it's like people meeting in a tavern, meeting a wise wizard, giving him a quest. You know, it's like it's this cheapest setting that you can have.
Yeah.
You know, and that was like a bummer because I remembered only the good things about those movies, but there were not a lot of good things, to be honest.
The one of the more recent ones, I haven't seen the most recent where all the dinosaurs escape, and I think one was that Jurassic World, possibly.
Yeah.
I saw the one before that, and I did like the scene where they were kind of. There was one moment where they were in a bubble car, and there was all these dinosaurs chasing them.
Yes.
That was quite unintentionally hilarious.
Yeah.
So there was a few moments there. And I'm just curious as well. So far, what's the response been like to the album, and who do you feel has really got a sense of what you've been trying to achieve with the album? You know, who do you think's really got it, and is there anything that you think, yeah, this person really has nailed it?
You know, the response is overwhelmingly good, I would say. I did expect more people to not like it, but it's just the occasional like grumpy person
Yeah.
that does not like anything at all.
Yeah.
And you can see that if you check out their YouTube comments on other things, you can see what kind of person you're dealing with. But when it comes to like traditional media, like webzines and also traditional magazines, the response is almost exclusively positive. Some are not fans of my vocals. I can live with that. Sometimes I'm not a fan of my own vocals as well. So, but you know, if you listen to the first Blind Guardian record, you know, why can't people give you time to develop?
Yeah.
To be honest, you got to start somewhere, and it's not like I'm not hitting any notes. You know, you might not like my voice. That's fine, but other than that, some people do not get that narrative aspect at all. They go like, there's too many intros and it spoils the record and blah blah blah. But that was the point. It's the point. Those are the same people that click next when they play video games, you know.
Yeah, and don't read
Skip the sequences, you know.
Yeah.
Well, then just do that. Go on Spotify. We put a playlist on Spotify with only the songs. There you go. Took us 1 minute. You know, um, yeah. There was one writer in Poland, and he was like power metal warrior. He actually gave us a 10 out of 10, and
Oh,
he
there you
got a
go.
lot of shit for that. It was like I Google translated it or had Chat GPT translated.
Yeah.
And it was I stopped reading the answers to his review, but he really got us because when I started, I wanted to do something that sounded like something a crossbreed between Gamma Ray, Blind Guardian, and Testament.
Mm.
That was what I had in mind,
Yeah.
like power metal, but very rough and very solid, and maybe even faster than traditional power metal. And he really got that, and he really put us right into that corner as well. And he really understood what we wanted to do. And there was also a writer in Italy, I forget her name, I think Melita or something, and she really took the time to go into detail on those interludes as well, and really got sucked into that story, and she described it, which was beautiful. And also I did something for breathing the chord dot either de or dot com, where we talk about the single tracks. And I really liked that because
Mm.
no one has ever asked me about all the single interludes and what they mean. And, it just shows me my plan kind of worked. And it's not foreseeable because I hate foreseeable stories.
So, with that said, this is really encouraging to hear. And I know you mentioned you have the second album in the writing sense ready, it's the musically demo ready, etc. Um, are you going to keep this theme going as the band, the sci-fi focus, once you finish telling this particular story? Will you then go on to play and tell more sci-fi oriented tales, or perhaps go into fantasy or something completely different, maybe drawn from a real life source of inspiration?
The very cool thing about being able to travel not only space but also time is
Yeah,
that you can do whatever the fuck you want.
yeah,
It's like Bill and Ted, you know?
yeah, yeah.
It's like a mad travel. And the next album is going to be placed in a different setting on a planet. That much I can already tell you. On a planet where there's those machine kind of guys, like I call them the machine heads.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
there's those wild barbarian tribes living in the jungle. The machine guys are living in the desert, like a
yeah.
clustered area, and the jungle surrounds it. Like the jungle is very vast, and those wild people live there. They're very feral, and they live in a synergy with the animals, you know. And there's going to be a couple of different topics as well, like industrialization. Imagine like the war of the orcs against the treants in Lord of the Rings
Mm,
and stuff like that. But that's the beautiful thing, I can take whatever I want, what I want to write a song about, and just make it fit into the story.
yeah,
Because I've got so many opportunities and it's so much fun.
yeah, yeah,
It's really, I really like that. And I think the one thing that's going to be not different is there's going to be a bonus track as well. And this time it's probably going to be a 90s country tune. So,
ooh,
you know, that last time the SCULFORGE tune was actually inspired by Streams of Whiskey by the Pogues. I don't know if you
Interesting.
know the song.
Yeah, yeah.
And I thought, well, they just lived through a horrific adventure. What do those guys want to do? Of course, they want to go to like a tavern and drink until they forget everything they've seen, you know? And probably this is how every record is going to end.
Yeah, but that's good. I mean, yeah, I mean, you've got the end Skullforge in, so we can always have a whiskey at the end of it all,
Yes,
regardless.
you know,
Yeah. So what? Very interesting. What would you like somebody to take away with them after they've listened to the album? And what I mean by that is, um, you mentioned this earlier about even no matter how dark things get, there's always hope. It might not be much hope, but there is always something there. So, I mean, of course, you want people to have enjoyed the music. I mean, as the obvious, and come back to it. But as yeah, sorry here, I'm getting my mind is racing faster than my words. But what do you hope a listener takes away with them from the story that you're telling within the music? What kind of themes and I guess messages that you want that person to walk away with from a point of where they can I want to listen to this album again because it's like a musical story.
well, the first point actually is there's two cats, like
Yeah.
two screaming cats hidden on the record. Try find both. I'm not going to tell you where. That is the first reason to listen to it again. If you haven't like found out where the two cats are, you need to listen again. The second thing I would love to people to take away from it, um, war can never be the answer. Um, War really always sucks. It brings
Yeah.
out the worst things in people.
Yeah.
But even in war, and this is what I try to do, there's still real people. Like it's so easy to see the other side and to anonymize. Is that a word in English? I don't know. To think of those guys as the bad people. They don't have a face, and it's super easy to discard them as bad people.
Yeah.
But there are people as well. They have own motivations. They have their own ideas of what they want to achieve. And there's people that want to go for power. There's people that just want to be left in peace. There's people that do everything to protect their family. There's people that are super greedy.
Mm.
There's just like all kinds of people. The world is not black and white. And this is what I see painted in the news especially from the US, but also here in Germany as well. The world is not black and white. It's all shades of gray, and gray stands for dirty.
Yeah.
You know, everyone has dirty secrets in their
Yeah.
closet.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there's not, I mean, look at 40K. Who are the good guys? The Imperium are not the good guys.
No,
I
they're
can
not.
Probably the Tau are the next best thing to the good guys.
Yeah, the closest we've got to. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, that
Most
gets.
evil guys, don't even get me started.
What was that? Sorry.
The most evil guys,
Yeah.
I have no idea. To be honest, I just do not have any idea. Probably the Eldari, the Dark Eldar,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, their whole point
because
is
they're doing it on purpose.
yeah, because they derive pleasure from it. I mean, they came from the pleasure cults before the
Mhm.
fall of the Eldari, and to be taken alive by them is absolutely horrendous because there's a practice. They even have an art form of keeping somebody alive for an infinite number of time
Yeah.
and torturing them, really all manner of really horrible stuff, and even like creating symphonies from the cries. And then
Yeah,
if
yeah.
you probably, if you get taken by the Dark Eldari, if you're not going to be taken as some kind of slave, maybe to the rulers in a sense, to serve them, and that's probably the kindest thing that could happen. Next would be in the arena, because at least you're not going to suffer. Other than outside of that, and if the homunculi get hold of you, that's it. It's terrible, and it's
There's a good novel about that, actually. A Space Marine order. I think they're called the Carnodons or something like that.
yeah,
The space sharks,
yeah,
and they want to find an artifact, some holy artifact of their order or something, and they have to go into the Dark City.
yeah. Come on, come
Very
on. Yeah.
interesting, actually, to read.
Yeah, and there's interesting parallels with the Dark City, with the Drow in the Underdark, where Menzel Belenzan, if I've remembered it correctly, with them all vying
Man,
for power.
Drizzt.
Drist, one of my favorite characters ever, man. Love
I
that dude.
was when Katy Bree died. I was shocked,
Yeah,
to be
yeah,
honest.
yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
I did not expect it, and whatever. We're going too far now, but I have read every Drizzt novel at least 3 times, I think.
It's
So
this again, like with Void, there's something about that guy and that character that I find absolutely fascinating. It's no surprise if anybody plays any role-playing game with a turn-based or action-based, and if there's elves in there, and you come across so many people with dual scimitars called Drist or whatever, but that's a testament to the character. But yeah, I mean, a lot of people who don't know much about 40k, and this has been in the news recently, will have misconceptions about it, saying, look, it's very fascist, very xenophobic, etc., etc. Look at the Imperium, they just want to kill everything that isn't human. And I'm like, it's an over-exaggerated, fantastical kind of sci-fantasy world, really. And if you think from the humans' point in that world, is they're continual war, non-stop, not with each other, with everybody outside of humanity. As you were saying, everything wants to kill you. So it's either learn to survive, if you can, in the gangs or away from them, or you're going to be conscripted in the Astra Militarum or whatever. And their kind of way to deal with that universe is we are going to take the conflict to them as well, in order to protect humanity as a whole. So there's certainly, as you said, the Tau, the closest thing we've got. I mean, you've even got the Emperor, who you could argue is like a space version of Dracula. I think we'd have to sacrifice so many souls a day to keep that guy alive. It's really, really grimy when you look at it. I mean, even perhaps this will come into the tabletop at some point. They've just brought in the squats again.
yeah, they're bringing back the squats. I
Yeah,
really like that fact.
and there's a human faction that split off from humanity, from the Imperium, a long, long time ago. It's in the law, and they became very technology focused and cybernetic. And apparently, they've got a powerful empire somewhere in, outside of the Imperium. So there is still elements there that they can bring in to the story, which would be great. And I'm sorry I got sidetracked again on 40k.
No worries.
Yeah.
Happens to me all the time.
Yeah. I was going to follow up with what you said, and then I just get started.
Everything is perfectly fine,
Yeah.
man. I'm enjoying this.
Oh, thank you, man. I'm terrible at people. If fantasy, sci-fi, movies, martial arts, games, that's it. If anyone gets talking about any of those areas, that's it. Forget what the interview was supposed to be about. That'll be it. Time will just fly, and then
It's totally fine, man.
But
I got to talk about SCULFORGE and
Yeah.
what we do plenty. So thanks a lot for that. That was it. It has been a blast by now. So
you're very.
it's funny how purely constructed fantasy and sci-fi thing can link people across like different nations, even in
Yeah.
they're not even talking the same mother language,
Yeah.
and still it connects people. And this is really also something that I hope my music does, or our music does. We want to have fun, and um, we want to the people to have fun as well. I mean, I'm a bit ambiguous about Ailstorm, but that giant rubber duck on the stage, it's just legendary, man. It's those guys. It's
I know what you're on
a
about.
little
Yeah.
bit blunt sometimes, but I really like that. It's super funny.
But I think sometimes we can forget to laugh. Yes, of course, we've got our serious moments and our serious moments in metal, but it's still nice to have that fun. And that's the beauty of metal, that it can connect people across nations. And I've mentioned this throughout our chat today, is because, in my opinion, and people would be thinking or listening, oh, well, this guy's just such a nerd. Of course, he's going to say all of this. But okay, putting my nerdy stuff aside, what you're doing is different. I would even put a sense for power thrash and that in as well. That definitely comes into it. You've got the storytelling aspect there. Yes, of course, bands do that, but there's something different with it. There's a depth to it. There's a genuine focus. Yes, the influences are there, but it's almost like a heavy metal interactive story and experience that could be easily translated into a stage play, indie film, or the soundtrack, as you said, for a game easily. So that is going to captivate other people's imagination, interest. Even if they're not sci-fi fans, you're going to think, "Oh, power metal. There's something different here." So it's standing out amongst the crowd against all this oversaturation. So you're onto something. I like what you're doing. I'm already interested in chatting to you about the next release. I will ask you when you're open to maybe get that out, and I know it'll be some time away because this one's only been out a short time.
To be honest,
Yeah,
I can't put out a
yeah,
date right now, but I would not like it to be in the far future.
yeah, yeah. It's yeah, it's an story, and you know what, man. When I sat and listened to it, and yeah, I thought, I looked at it, it's 26 songs, but it didn't bother me. I've listened to, grindcore albums as well, where there's 40 million songs in like each one 30 seconds or 20 seconds long. That did not bother me. I looked at it, approached it, and thought, there's a story here. This is interesting, not just because of what I like in sci-fi and fantasy as well. And I liked the interludes. It added to the atmosphere. You even went further with that, with bringing, actors in, for example. So it's adding those other layers. And man, that's a hell of a product to put out. And this is no ass kissing or ego stroking here, but not everybody does that. And fans are going to come away and really feel like they've had a solid, engaging experience with it. You know,
That actually, of course, I mean, it has flaws. It was the first record we have done. It really, I mean, I would do things differently. When I recorded the vocals, it was, I think, in January 21.
hmm.
So it's been a long time ago. No, January 22. I don't know. No, 20.
Yeah,
It must have been 21. Um, Whatever. A long time ago, and I think um that of course I would do things differently right now. Um, and that kind of storytelling has been tried by Iron Savior, for example.
yes,
Also, what were those guys called? Metallium, I think. Also
mhm,
German power true metal band, phenomenal singer. Used to was a singer for Firewind, Gus G's band for a couple of years. Henning Bass, really, really good, like very good singer. Um, and I think it has been tried, but I wanted to take it a step further, you
mm,
know, and imagine. I mean, if ever maybe you can find some fun in Dark Tide, put on Spacehull and play a round of Dark Tide.
Exactly.
This is what it's meant to be. It's meant to be a soundtrack for that kind of stuff. And if you look at the Dawn of War games, there's scenes that are very, very typical. There's one mission, I think in the second one, there's one mission where there's an exterminators going on, and the group has to flee. And this was what I had in mind for that song, And it's really it just comes from the heart, because I know how minds work, and I sure know I would have liked to have music like that when I played those games.
Exactly, that's what I was saying when I'm sometimes reading, and I will listen to a band like that because it helps bring everything to life for me. Again, playing Dark Tide. Dawn of War 3, sadly, I thought was pretty terrible. First two great. Third one, I think they tried to make it too much like the first, combine them, and sadly it completely fell off, which was a shame. I've never played the mod. Well, there's a mod somebody brought out for the first Dawn of War, and it's still really popular, and it adds in all the factions from 40k, loads of units. Oh god, it's all over. I can't remember it, but I've seen it all over YouTube.
Actually, I did not mean the main, the second main game, but there's a add-on. I don't know what it is called.
It's not in Chaos Rising by any chance, is it?
No, the second one. That was the first one. The second one is something with an Inquisitor.
Yeah, is that the one with the turrets?
Redemption or something?
Is the second one where they brought in the turrets, I believe? I think.
War 2. Retribution.
Yeah.
That was really, really well done, because the storytelling is there, and you have that small group of characters as well, like in Warcraft 3 back then.
Yeah.
You had those heroes, that group of heroes. This is where that came from, I think. But you also had those units, It was not on a scale like in the first game, but still a reasonable size of force, a small army.
Yeah.
And that one was really well done, but of course I actually did not like the Space Marine part of it as well.
Yeah. Those games have some of the most fantastic cutscenes I've ever seen as well.
Yep, exactly.
Absolutely wonderful. They are like movies, and again, I think since people saw them, that's why I've been talking about it today, and everyone's saying, "Oh God, are we going to get a 40k movie one time?" Even like that. I know there was the Ultramarine movie, I think, which was all right. And where was I going next with this? No, but yeah, the storytelling aspect, as you said, were mentioned with those other bands, has been done. But again, you've added that layer. It's exactly the type of thing somebody can listen to when they're playing those games. And there's another thing they can do. I did creative writing at uni, and I often would listen to different kinds of music and metal as well. If I had a particular topic to write about, or they said, right, we want a prose on this theme, and it helped me visualize it. I've got a visual imagination anyway, but it really did help me write for that particular mood. So there's another great thing that people can do listening to this album, which is fantastic. Honestly, man, I am really, really looking forward to hearing the next album, from both my nerdy imagination side, the storytelling aspect, chatting to you about that when that does come out, because I think that would be fantastic for people to hear. And I really do hope people continue to give your music a chance. If not, they're missing out. Again, for the fun, energy, and happy feels as well, even it's there. And I really hope this gets out there. Especially, because it's got 40k contained within it. So that's a reason in itself. So
Yeah,
folks.
but it's not only going to be 40K on the next
Yeah.
album. It's going to be a little bit more because we just I did the setup with the first album for the story, and now we can explore different kinds of ways, and we don't have to. It's like imagine like Game of Thrones, for example, where things happen and you don't understand why they happen. You understand in season 5, then
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
probably will understand. And I also, my wife made me watch 15 seasons of Supernatural, and the absolute best episodes were the ones that were like goofy and hilarious. The
yeah,
Wild West episode was legendary. Or the episode where they break the fourth wall and are in
on the
actually
TV. Yeah.
that is so awesome. And that's really also what I like about Deadpool, like breaking the fourth wall, and you
I,
know.
I still haven't seen the last season of Supernatural, and I really
Yeah,
liked.
you're not missing out a lot because I think
Man,
that they just kept going because they had to keep going.
yeah,
But I didn't watch it for the main story. I watched it for the goofy parts.
yeah, but there was a charm about it. I mean, Dean was my favorite character in that
Yeah,
show, and there was that
he's
season where he was turned into a demon, and his exchanges with. Oh, he's a British actor as well. I mean, I think his name's Mark Maxim. He played Crowley, and,
yeah, Crowley.
and we're meeting up in bars at a time.
It's
Yeah,
legendary, just legendary, and also Bobby Singer always good.
yeah, he
Idiots,
was good.
stupid
Yeah,
idiots.
yeah, yeah. But
It's
again,
great.
it's that human relationship, keeping it strong and going. That bit of humor in amongst all the darkness that was happening as well, and then some random, real goofy stuff, which was just absolute hilarity. And the way Dean's expression, or he would deliver his dialogue in those
Yeah,
times,
yeah.
made it funnier. It's like people will get me tired of mentioning this series because I'm always talking about it. I did with the band Maidenhead. Um, the Evil Dead movies, Ash versus Evil Dead, the series, the humor contained with them, which is hilarious, the way they just deliver the lines. And you still get that in really violent action movies. It's like we'll still inject a bit of that. The way the facial reactions, they can deliver a sentence.
Yes.
It just adds something, and it's often unintentional, but it can be one of the most funniest aspects in that movie. One we all remember, and we'll say it like we are now. Did you see that part? Do you remember this? So great stuff.
Do you remember the black and white Supernatural episode
Yes, yes.
with the vampire on the motor roller thingy?
Yeah.
And Dean is Jensen Ackles is so awesome. He's shaking that girl, and
Yeah.
she's like, "Are you okay?" And of course, he's not okay if you're screaming at her like that, But he's so hilarious. Also that episode where he's lying in his car, where he's lying in his baby, and you can hear "Eye of the Tiger."
Yeah, yeah.
And there's an ending sequence where he does kind of a choreography. He's always killing it. I really liked it.
Yeah, he's good. He's a good actor. He was good in The Boys as well as oh god, now I forget the name, but he's good in he was good in The Boys.
There was also a horror movie actually with him. I don't remember how it was called, but there was a horror movie with him where he plays. It has something to do with a mine or something, like
Right.
an abolished mine or something.
I'll have to look that up. I know
You
he
need to look it up. That was really a solid
yeah.
movie.
Yeah, well, I know he appeared in one of the earlier seasons of Smallville briefly.
Yeah.
He was in it for a while. Quite an underrated actor, actually.
Well, he decided for that TV show career,
Yeah.
He didn't want to. I don't know if he wanted to go on the big screen as well, but I really like him. I also like Jared. I also like him as well.
Yeah.
But like Jensen is so hilarious. His looks. his content look when he's biting into a burger. You know, that guy is just
Yeah.
go.
Yeah, definitely. He's in the same vein as, like I say, Bruce from, Bruce Campbell. He's in the same vein as that kind of actor, and there's a warmth about him as well. He comes on screen, you find yourself watching and smiling. He's definitely got that ability to engage with people for sure through his acting. I know I've kept you here for such a long time. Believe me, I could go on nerding. I'm just I'm starting to get a bit self-conscious. I don't want to get you trouble. I don't want to get you in trouble with your wife. Yeah. Because he'll be like sat there meditating, like, is the Englander ever going to shut up? Shut up, you Livy. I need to pee. But no, man, it's been a blast. I seriously have enjoyed talking to you, and it's been fascinating. I'm always down to talk about sci-fi and 40k in general. I'm going to ask you a quick fire question actually before I let you go, related to sci-fi. But hearing about the concepts behind the album, I'm genuinely stoked for the next one. And it was different, man, with the music. It's why I enjoyed it, and it's why I reached out. I thought, yeah, there's something here, and I thought I want to hear about this, and I think other people will enjoy it too. I know I've got some friends who will love it, man. I'm quite sure. So quickly, before I let you go to pee, who would be who would be some of your favorite non 40k sci-fi and fantasy actually?
Well, for sure, Dresden Files. As fantasy, I really like that urban fantasy kind of thing. And there's also a novel series, the about two brothers, a bit like Supernatural. Cal and Nico. I can't remember the name of the novel series. I think by Rob Furman, if I remember correctly. I mean, of course, a lot of the Rings and stuff like that it's always there.
Yeah,
I've read that multiple times. I've also read Harry Potter multiple times, but I am drawn to that darker and more gritty and gray area kind of things,
Yeah.
And what I recently discovered actually is Warhammer Horror. Go check that out. Also interesting. Well, the Witcher novels, the Witcher short stories, of course, as well. And to be honest, everything with Drist, with Bruno, Catibri, Regis, everything from that side. Artemis Entreri as well, very tragic figure, I think. Mostly that.
Yeah, definitely. I do love my dark and grittier sci-fi and fantasy for the reasons you've said. But generally, Lord of the Rings, D&D for sure, Drist, generally open to most of those things. If it's something sci-fi and fantasy, chances are 9 times out of 10 I will like it, or will at least give it a chance, or certainly find it entertaining. Do have my particular favorites, of course. Is there anybody you would like to shout out? And please, could you let people know where they can find you on the web? I will put the links in the description once YouTube finally finishes processing. Hopefully that won't take 1,000 years, and then we all of a sudden appear out of the warp. Hey, here's a show we did way back. But
I would give a shout out to my band, because they tolerate all the eccentric things I do. They do not understand a word. They have told me multiple times they do not understand a word. Thanks for bearing with me. Also, to be honest, my wife, she puts up with all that stuff, and I'm such a huge nerd, and she's like, she goes with it. It's super awesome.
Yeah, no doubt, man. And definitely shout out to the bands, the other guys in SCULFORGE, and shout out to Mrs. McSkullwood as well. That's great, man. It really is. And shout out to all of you as well. Get at me if you would like to come on the show. Don't forget to subscribe, follow, smash the mosh likes, follow SCULFORGE. I will put the links, as I said, in the description. And I'll be back with another episode of Fed Up very, very soon. Thank you, Dia, for joining me. It's been greatly appreciated, and I've enjoyed it, man. It's been so much fun chatting with you and having a nerdathon. Always in my element when I get a chance to do that. That's great.
We should definitely do that again. That was super fun.
Well, I'm thinking, man, you know, a couple of bands have said this, and I'm thinking at one point maybe chairing like a round robin where we could get so many people on from the bands and have a general nerdathon on movies and everything we've been talking about. I know metalhead nerd contest. Yeah, it's a couple of people have put it because it got me thinking. I thought, okay, might take a bit of planning with the different time zones, but that would be cool. It'd be entertaining. It certainly was.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. We did that. We did actually do that for when we wanted to publish the first trilogy. We wanted to do an interactive listening party.
Yeah,
which did not work out because Facebook did not let us play our music. Nobody could hear anything. But yeah, this is why you try those things out before you do them.
Yeah, it's learning process, I guess.
Yeah, man. But that would be awesome. I would like that. And talking about squads, go check out the band Windrose and the song Diggy Diggy Hole.
I'll have to do, man. Yeah, definitely.
I am a dwarf and I'm digging a hole. Diggy diggy hole, diggy diggy hole.
Yeah.
Try to get that out of your mind tonight.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm already thinking now. Immediately in response to that, I'm already thinking Dwarf Slayers and Age of Sigmar. I've always wanted to do one of their armies. I think they're riding like the kind of dragon-like creatures now in Age of Sigmar, and I thought, man, got to do them. Never had a patience for painting or the ability to really paint. I'm just like, no, I just want to put them together and play, man. But yeah, anyway, I'm going to behave or I'm going to start nerding again. So again, thanks for coming on. You're welcome on here anytime. If we can possibly get this maybe set up in the future sometime with a mosh nerdathon, might be some time, folks, but there appears to be interest for it. So I think that's something I'm going to have to look at. And I'll see you on the next episode, everybody. And take care and talk to you all again soon. And thanks again, Polly. It's been a blast, man.
Thanks for having me.
You're welcome, man. You too, man.
Goodbye.
Peace out, man.